Hi guys, welcome to my channel! I'm glad you're joining me again for the next episode of the series where I travel on a culinary journey around the world to find out which country has the healthiest national dish. The culinary area we're currently visiting is Oceania, and today we're having a closer look at Papua New Guinea. Their national dish is called Mumu, and it consists of root vegetables, green vegetables, meat and pineapple. From a culinary perspective, it's not similar to Australia's or New Zealand's cuisine, but it rather belongs to the other, smaller Pacific islands. However, I don't plan on covering those small islands in the near future, but I also didn't want to leave Papua New Guinea out of the series. So I decided to let the geography decide, and since Papua New Guinea belongs to Oceania, here we go. First, we'll need to detoxify the cassava root, or also called yucca. It contains cyanide, which leads to inner suffocation. If you want to find out more information about the substance, check out this video. So we'll peel the cassava root, then cut it into cubes and soak them in water while we tend to the rest of the ingredients. Here I have the rest of my root vegetables. Taro roots. Unfortunately, the fresh ones were sold out, so I had to resort to a frozen one, which from a nutritional point of view doesn't matter. Yams, sweet potatoes and carrots. We'll peel and cut all of them into middle-sized cubes. Another important ingredient for mumu is kumu, which is a green cabbage, spinach-like vegetable, which isn't available in Germany, however. So I will substitute with kale, cabbage and leek. The next ingredient adds a nice sweetness and acidity. Pineapple. I'll peel and cut it into rough chunks. Also, I will put another fruit in the mumu, a plantain, or like we call it in Germany, a cooking banana. And lastly, the meat. I'll use chicken and pork and cut it into cubes as well. Now all of our ingredients are prepared. But before we start the layering process, let's take a quick info break. Papua New Guinea is the most linguistically diverse country in the world. There is an insane number of 839 languages and dialects spoken there. Depending on the source, this makes out about 11 to 25% of all existing languages in the world. However, there are 4 official languages: English, 2 Creole languages, Tok Pisin and Hirimotu, and Papua New Guinean Sign Language. The stable, warm and humid climate there, together with a big range of altitudes, is a great habitat for many plant and animal species. That's why the flora and fauna in Papua New Guinea is so abundant and diverse. In fact, Papua New Guinea is even one of the 5 megadiversity centers of the world. The word mumu actually describes a way of cooking, and not only a dish. The food is prepared in a hole in the ground, which is filled with hot stones and topped with banana leaves. This way of cooking is pretty laborious, and so often the whole family or village will work together. But this cooking technique ensures that all the nutrients stay in the food. Other than with cooking, where many nutrients will be washed out by the water, or frying at high temperatures, which degenerates the vitamins. At the end of this video, we'll have a look at the nutritional profile of mumu and see that it in fact contains many nutrients. But for now, let's return to the kitchen. Welcome back to the kitchen! The water in which the cassava root has soaked is now really milky, and we'll discard it. Rinse the cassava root with some running water and let it dry on a towel for a few minutes. Now it's time to layer all of the ingredients into a casserole dish or a Dutch oven. Although originally Mumu is wrapped in banana leaves and then cooked in a hole in the ground. But since my neighbors would have a lot to say if I dug out a hole in our backyard, I will have to use this. After greasing the casserole dish with some oil, we'll start with a banana leaf. Then the roughly cut kale and cabbage leaves, together with the leek, and season it with salt and pepper. On top of that, we layer the root vegetables and plantains, and season this layer as well before we move on to the next one. It consists of pork, which we'll season with pepper, then the pineapple, and on top the chicken. We'll season the chicken with some salt and pepper. I'm not sure whether the next layer traditionally belongs into Mumu, but I think garlic and onion elevate every dish, so I took the liberty to add a tiny bit. Now we'll pour a nice amount of coconut milk and then finish the layering process with some more kale and cabbage leaves. Season this layer as well, and then cover the whole thing with a banana leaf and a lid. If you don't want to dig a hole in the ground and cook this with hot stones, it would be best to place it on the barbecue to get the right aroma. But since I don't own one, a hot oven will have to do. I'll set it on a high temperature for 15 minutes to get the mumu up to a boil, and then I reduce the heat and let it simmer gently until the meat and vegetables are tender. And after 1.5 hours, this is what mumu looks like. If you want to, you can also make some rice like I did to accompany this dish. Let's take a quick glance at the nutritional values of Papua New Guinea's national dish. The energy amount is quite low for a main dish. However, there is a lot of dietary fiber and protein present. The cholesterol is about 1/3 of the daily recommended limit, and the salt even less than 1/3. The diagram of the percentage cover of the daily recommendations shows that there are many vitamins and minerals which exceed 50%. But since we need a consistent basis for comparison of the different national dishes, I broke down the nutrients based on 1000 kilocalories. Now for the final review. The calories are amazing, not even 40% of the daily recommendation. But as said in previous videos, this assessment of the energy amount comes from my individual point of view. Since I live in an industrialized country where overweight is a big problem and is rather too much to eat than too less, I assess a low calorie count as good. I evaluate the good nutrients as follows. If in the 1000 kilocalorie scenario they cover 50% or more of the daily recommendation, they get a point. This is the case here for dietary fiber, protein, and many minerals and vitamins. The nutrients which should be kept in close boundaries are evaluated depending on how close they already get to this boundary in this single dish. Amazingly, we don't have to worry about any of these nutrients in this dish. That deserves the full 5 points. Which leaves us with a general nutrient assessment of 4.5 points. As for regarding taste, Mumu barely gets 1 point. It may be that I'm just not used to this taste profile and therefore didn't like it, but the taste of the root vegetables overpowered all the other tastes. So, except for the pineapple, every ingredient tasted the same, and unfortunately this taste wasn't pleasant. Additionally, since the meat wasn't fried, it was pretty bland and the pork belly not really eatable. Although I seasoned every layer and added onions and garlic, which isn't in the original recipe, these efforts were practically not noticeable. Though I can imagine a version of this dish which I would probably like, but this won't have much in common with this traditional recipe. But as I said, it may just be that I'm used to totally different cuisines. Since the taste doesn't affect the rating of the nutritional aspect, Papua New Guinea will be colored in light green. If we compare the nutritional assessment of all the national dishes of Oceania, they rank as follows. The clear winner is Papua New Guinea, and it will compete against the winners of other culinary areas and continents. But since Papua New Guinea is strictly speaking a totally different culinary area than Australia and New Zealand, and only competes with them because I don't plan on covering the smaller Pacific islands, I'll make an exception and let Australia move into the next round as well. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment or subscription. Next up is Mexico. I hope to see you again there. Until then, bye!